right, so as you can see, I have my egg set up here, and I am going to draw and shade using blended shading. And as you see, I have a nice bright lamp tilted towards the egg, and I've made the room as dark as I possibly can. It's not very dark, but this is as good as I could get it for now. And so I have a couple of choices here. I have just a regular pencil, which you can use, and then I have an ebony pencil, which the graphite lead is a little bit larger and a little bit softer than a regular pencil, so it's just easier to blend, and it gets a little bit darker in the dark parts. So I'm going to choose the ebony pencil, and then if you have them, you can use a blending stump. These are just a pointy thing that is made out of paper, basically. You can buy these at Hobby Lobby for really cheap, but if you don't have these, it's okay. You can use a Q-tip, or you can just blend with your pencil. I'm not going to be super picky, I just wanted to show you about that. And then this is a kneaded eraser, again, cheap at Hobby Lobby. This one's a little bit old, so it's not quite as stretchy anymore. But you can stretch these into any shape if you want to pull out some highlights with that if you went too dark. So that's that. Alright, so the first thing is just sketch lightly, very lightly, your egg. Because if you notice over on the far side, you can't even see the difference between the edge of the egg and the paper. It gets really bright, so you just the edge of the egg just fades away right in that back area. So I'm going to go extremely light just so that I don't cause there to be a dark spot there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do the best you can. You can always erase out any part of it you don't want. Alright, I went a little small there, and it's a little bit flat, so I'm going to make that a little higher. Alright, doesn't have to be so perfect. And I'll erase out those spare lines. Okay, and like you saw in the Proko video, we have a super nice shadow there, and the reflected light coming off this side onto the egg. So there's like a nice stripe of shadow, which is really cool. So from my view, it looks slightly different than what you see. So I'm just going to start with the edge of my pencil, and with one light layer where I see the shadow from my angle. Just nice and easy, trying to make it kind of even and smooth. Blend out those rough edges later. It's a little bigger down here. So what you see is slightly different. You see more of the ring than I do actually from this angle. So I'm going to go with what I see. I see the reflected light over here more. Okay, so the idea is to layer your layers of pencil. Not just one layer, but layer. And you can shade in the angle or the curvature of the egg, and that helps it look more three-dimensional as well. Well, it's dark there, and then it's dark, here. And some people like to hold their pencil like this, so you get a wider range of your pencil lead. For me, it depends how big the pencil already is. If it's really long, I don't like to hold it like that. This one's all right. Okay, so I'm seeing this dark stripe come down a little lower here and then back up. All right, and now from here, there's a little glowy ring right here. So this is where your observation comes back in. You're going to really observe what you're seeing and not just assume there's a shadow. We've learned that the shadow goes on the side without the light, but we haven't learned about all the little variations of the shadow in between. So that's what we're working on here. All right, there's the next layer. I want to smooth this out because I don't see any line in this area. And then slightly darker on this edge here. And this is not white of the paper, so I'm going to go with a slight bit here. And now I'm going to go again a little bit more dark in the dark area. Once again, I'm going to accentuate that deeper ring that I'm seeing. I'm actually seeing a little bit more up here. Okay, and then we have the cast shadow, which is mostly here for me. That's one ring of it. We've got a nice dark edge here, which is interesting, with a little light in the middle. And then we've got it really dark up under there. So that's what's going to make our egg really pop, is getting that darkest part done. And then we have sort of a ring. I don't want to make any stark line if I can help it. Sort of have a ring. I don't know if you could see what I'm seeing. I don't think you can. Okay, and that dark ring gets a little wider and a little less dark here. A little light in there, a little light in here. You'll notice if you look very closely, this shadow has a lot of different tones in it. We're going to use the blender in a second. You do not have to use a blender. It just makes it more smooth, because you'll notice that the pencil, it kind of looks bumpy because of the texture of the paper or the texture underneath the paper. So the blender just helps you smooth your pencil together and kind of drag the lead a little bit more on the paper, and go a little darker up under there. Any place I can pull out darker, where I see dark, that's going to help the dimension of my picture. So it gets kind of dark around here. I'm going darker with the overall shadow. I'm just making layers right now. It's really cool how you see rings in the shadow from all the reflected light. This comes out just a little bit more, like this. Okay, and any place I can compare, like the dark shadow, is there anything on the egg that is as dark? Not quite as dark. However, I could go a little darker here away from the light because, first of all, I can choose to do that because I'm the artist. And second of all, it does look a little bit darker here. I just didn't notice before. Now, my egg, I realize it's a little bit too elongated and my line is probably a little bit too straight. But that's okay. This is a practice exercise. I'm just practicing, I'm learning, I'm not perfect, and you shouldn't strive to be, quote, perfect. You should strive to improve and do your best. Now, we have a little bit of shadow coming up under here, although there's a little reflection under there as well, so I have to be careful. Okay, now one more part. I'm going to come in a little bit more here. Keeping my shadows as round as I can. And I think we'll go a little bit darker here overall. Okay, I'm going to use my stump. Again, you don't have to, but I just want to show you what it's going to do. So with a stump, you want to go in one direction, and you never ever want to use your finger. Okay, do not use your finger because it gets oil in the graphite, and it just makes a mess. You can't control where these little intricate shadows that you've done are going. So you want to lightly and gradually go in one direction in the shape of the object and blend the edges, okay? So if you go back and forth, you're going to get little stop points in your pencil. Okay, you'll have like little smudges here and there. If you go like that, it'll go and get smudges. So since I'm attempting for this to be a final sketchbook piece, I'm not going to do that to show you on this. I might show you in class. Okay, so one direction, smooth, and you can also drag it to blend that edge a little bit more gradual if you want it to be. You may not want it to be. It depends what it looks like, right? And be careful not to mess up what you've seen. Like if you have a nice dark ring here, be careful not to blend it out with your stump. You can blend it, but just don't make it disappear. Okay, and if you do go a little bit much, you can use your eraser to pull it back out. Okay, so there is my egg, and I was going to show you that edge that you can't see because of the light. I'm going to erase that out. So even though there's not a line there, it's an implied edge because of the light, okay? Because it is what I see. I'm going to neaten up some of these stray marks that you may not be able to see. And I'm going to look at, there's a little light area right in here. I want to lift some pencil out. And okay, I see it looks a little bit darker in person than it looks on the screen, but that's okay. And now I'm going to sign my work. Remember, you always sign your work. You may sign it down here if you'd like, or since this one is just a little piece in the middle, you might want to sign it up in here. So I think I'll do that. I'm just going to sign mine in cursive. You can do your little signature if you want to, or whatever you'd like. All right, thank you.